Welcome to our podcast dedicated to scaling up process and HR management. I am Simla, an international student from Turkey, currently studying in Audencia.
And I am Mona, a French student at Audencia as well.
In this series, we explore business and career insights from industry experts. Today, we'll discuss strategies for the company scaling up, the role of intrapreneurship, and how HR policies adapt to support growth. Ophélie Meunier is joining us today. She is department manager at Amaris. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being here to share your valuable experience. Ophélie, welcome to our podcast.
First of all, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am Ophélie, I'm French, studying in Audencia a few years ago too. I'm working in Chile for the last 5 years. It went fast. I have a basic career, I think so, because I study at Audencia too. First, I did class préparatoire, and during my experience in Audencia, I had the opportunity to do international exchanges, first in Mexico, and then I did an internship also in Spain. And at the end of my study at Audencia, I started working as consultant in Paris, and quickly I wanted to go back to South America, and I had the opportunity to do a year with Amaris Consulting. And here I am, happy to be with you, girls.
For the listeners who may not be familiar with Amaris Consulting, could you briefly introduce the company and highlight what makes it unique in the consulting space?
So Amaris Consulting is a consulting company specialized in technology and digital. Basically, to make it simple, we basically help our clients to develop technological strategy and help them in the implementation of the project. So it can be, for example, helping a client to develop a new mobile application for e-commerce. It can be also to help client to define methodologic strategy to make the project more efficient. Today, for example, we're a lot about artificial intelligence, also help the client to use AI the best way, not only to do it because it's trendy, but to make it efficient. Yes, I will say Amaris is special maybe for his capacity to trust young people. I'm no exception, but also to have no fear to crisis. For example, they have been created just 1 year before the economical crisis of 2008. And for example, here in Chile, when I came to develop the activity, it was just before COVID. It was also during the social revolution here in Chile. Then COVID, and at the opposite, when I arrived here, I was afraid because I was like, okay, only issue, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And all my coach told me, no, if there is a crisis, it means there is opportunity. And I can confirm today we're almost 200 people here in Chile, from 0 to 200. Demonstration on the crisis can be full of opportunity.
Can you tell us a little about what brought you to Amaris Consulting and what made you want to join the company at first?
During my study to Audencia, I studied a master in marketing and also did all my internship in retail and luxury in marketing. This is what I really like it. But at the end of my study, I was like, okay, I'm still young. Really like marketing and all luxury stuff, but I need to get out of my comfort zone. So I say, okay, I want to have an experience at international dimension. I also want to try something new. And basically consulting and also technology was new for me. And I say, you have to do it. I have to do it now because it's better to fail quickly than to fail on the future. And Amaris was the only consulting company who gives this opportunity to do any experience before. So that's the reason I choose Amaris Consulting. No regrets, because I think the career I have today, not a lot of company will have give their chance with me. I'm no exception. Basically, a lot of other people in Amaris Consulting have the same history.
What is your current role at Amaris Consulting? And could you tell us what does a typical day look like for you?
So today my role is how to do it in a simple word. I'm basically in charge of the activity in Chile. So it means there is several dimensions. Maybe a day-to-day dimension, which will be more on a short-term focus based in business and management. So obviously I have to make sure we are doing business, we are profitable, and also make some coaching to my team so that they can be better and better. It will be maybe the short-term vision. And on the long-term vision, it's obviously make sure we have a strategy, a plan, and make sure the company have a financial positive result. I will say I have transversal role, but at the end, I am working with my team. Without them, the company won't be able to work. Yes, I think I can resume it this way. And about my routine, maybe I will say there is no routine. I have every day, like 30 minutes with all the manager, just to make sure what are the priority of each of them, how I can help, if there is some urgency or some deal important to close. And during the rest of the day, I can have meeting with clients here in the office or at the office of the client. During the afternoon, maybe I can meet some candidates. For example, this afternoon, I will see 2 candidates because we're always looking for new talents. And I can finish the day with a weekly meeting, maybe with finance or marketing team or a recruitment team. So it's very diversified. And I think this is what also motivates me.
How has your role evolved since you first joined the company? And have there been any significant shifts in responsibilities that the company has scaled?
I started at Amaris Consulting as a VIE, as a junior manager. And even if I have no experiences from the beginning, the manager role is very full of responsibility because you're basically in charge of creating your own company, what we call business unit. I always take the triangle example. Basically, the manager is at the center of the triangle and he's in charge for the first pillar will be the business aspect, obviously. It means he has to define an account strategy, what kind of clients you want to open, what are the decision makers, the company, meet the clients, identify some needs or leads, obviously then make a proposal, negotiate and close the contract. So it's very focused on business, but business is nothing if you're not able after to give good services, qualitative services. So the manager is also in charge to find the best talent on the market, to hire the best consultant and make sure this consultant will be able to give best in the client. And the last dimension is obviously the management part because you can have the best clients, you can identify the best talent in the market. If after you don't care, if you don't care and have a good career path for your consultants, they will leave. So it's very important to also give the best care to the consultant and make sure they will stay in Amaris. It will be a positive circle, right? So the role of the manager when he starts will be to develop these 3 dimensions. And obviously, the more clients you have, the more consultants you have, you are not able to do it on your own. So you have to start to delegate, to structure your business unit. And you go from manager to expert manager to senior manager to department manager and then to director, right? So obviously, as I mentioned, my role as director is not the same like I was doing when I was manager, but I still have the 3 dimensions. It's just obviously your priority will change and you will have to maybe not be the best, but hire the best. What I always say to my team, we don't just need to have the winner, but to do a winning team.
Since we started focus on the scaling up process, I would like to continue with this topic. Rapid scaling can present unique challenges, particularly with the new competitors emerging and the need to stay technologically advanced. What were some of the biggest challenges Amaris faced during its scaling up process, and how did the company overcome them?
I will give example for Chile because obviously this is the experience I have, but this is very similar to what Amaris experiences in other countries because we're already in more than 60 countries, so I don't think Chile is an exception. But for example, in Chile and South America in general, the market is very dynamic. I think it's different to maybe Europe, which is more bureaucratic. But in South America, the market is very dynamic, which means full of opportunity, which is good. But it also means a lot of challenges because you have to be very fast. And when you are very fast, you can make mistakes. What has been a very big challenge for us here in Chile is to make sure we'll grow fast. But if we need to fail, we also need to fail fast. So how we did it basically is to try to reach growth, but sustainable growth, if I may say. And it means sometimes you have to say no. And sometimes it's very hard because you can do some business, but also no, it won't be sustainable. So be able to say no, maybe response. And the second one is to be consistent. It means when you are in a dynamic market, you are like always running a sprint, but at the end, it's a marathon. So it doesn't mean you won't have to do some sprint sometime, but you have to be consistent. I arrived in Chile 5 years ago. In 5 years, I saw a lot of startups on competitors who are already disappeared because they grow very fast, but they also disappear very fast. So for us, the objective is obviously to be ambitious, to take initiative in the market, enable us to do it, but also to be precocious. And how we can do it, I will say Amaris Consulting have a big differentiator. They are the hub. So for example, we have a hub in Medellin where all, maybe we can say, support business are centralized. For example, recruitment team, financial team. Chile, we don't need to hire all these people. So obviously we are maybe doing some saving at the beginning when we create the structure. And now, for example, we're starting to also have people from human resources here in Chile. But at the beginning, every of these support functions were centralized in Colombia. And we have also excellence center. For example, we have an excellence center in data in Brazil. We have an ER center in Colombia too. And obviously, we don't need to have this kind of investment here in Chile. We can just make synergy and it enable us to grow faster, but without taking that much of risk and investing that much. So I will say maybe these are the key points of how Amaris Consulting have been able to scale up.
Each manager at Amaris is responsible for the administrative and financial management of their business unit. How do you ensure that managers are well equipped and to handle the scaling pressures? And what role do they play in driving company-wide growth?
The manager is very responsible, basically, of business unit. It means there is people, there is an employee who also rely on the manager. So I will talk about two dimensions, maybe a theoretical dimension and also a pragmatic one. But the theoretical part is based on the dimension we try to develop to make the manager quickly autonomous and independent to be able to run well his business unit. So first, to do that, we always try as a coach to be able to give motivation, means, and meaning to the manager. What does it mean? Motivation is to make sure the manager understands what he's doing, why it is doing it. Because at the end, sometimes we have some repetitive tasks, not the sexy task, maybe like more routine one, who don't necessarily motivate or animate the person. But at the end, this is like this small effort will give big results. So motivation is very important. Try to understand the drivers of the manager because everybody is different and try to motivate him. The second dimension is the meaning, which we can relate to maybe the knowledge of the person, right? To make sure he has the knowledge and the information to be able to understand the meaning of what he will doing and to doing it. And the last one will be the means. It means the tools to it. I will give you a quick example. The call. Obviously, the manager has to plan prospection meeting, and to do it, he will have to call some possible clients, and you have to do call. You have to call people, and most of the time, they will say no. So here, you have to give to the manager the motivation, the meaning. The mean, for example, will be to have a good CRM to be able to number of people. The means will be, okay, can make a cold call very efficient, key message. And the motivation will be, try to understand how the manager can be motivated by the cold call. Some people will be motivated by the cold call if there is something to win. And what will be very important for them, maybe will be, no, I need a quiet room to be alone. So motivation will be different from each people. But at the end, if you don't have one of these pillars, it's very complicated to make it sustainable. So it is more the theoretical aspect and the practical aspect. This is all the career path we have with the manager. When they start in Amaris, there is an onboarding process. You have also an ATP, which is most 1 week. It can be in South America, in Brazil, in Chile, or in Colombia, where we gonna reunite all the managers, also the director, to have a coaching, a practical session. And during all his career, we will have once a year this kind of training where we will also exchange with managers of different countries, with directors of different countries, also consultants. So this is very important. This is also a way to have some meanings and means. So this is basically what I told before in terms of theory and how we can do it in the day-to-day, but also with a key instance during all his career.
With 7,600 people across 60 countries, how does Amaris ensure the right talent is recruited and retained to support its scaling ambitions? What recruitment strategies have been key to finding and managing top talents globally?
Basically, the only way to hire the best talent is to interview all the time. So every week, for example, I see candidates. It doesn't mean I will hire them next week, but this is the only way first to also see the market trends and to identify talent. So every director, every department manager, every senior manager will see candidate, future manager to make sure we can identify the best option. And for example, maybe I can see a candidate here in Chile, but it doesn't mean it will be necessary for Chile. Maybe I can see someone and say, okay, this person, it will be incredible for Brazil or for a country we want to open. So that's why the best talent, we have a platform obviously to follow up to make sure we won't lose the process. And the best ones are also shared at the regional dimension, international dimension. So I will say see people all the time. Obviously, then you need to have the good tools, the good process to make it efficient. But the basic is to see people all the time.
As Amaris grows, how do you ensure that client relationships remain strong and personalized? Are there specific strategies the company uses to maintain a high level of client satisfaction across its over 1,000 global?
Most important dimension will be the proximity. You have to know. In Amaris Consulting, we talk about client obsession, not only in the business aspect, but also the importance of his role in the company, what he likes to do, and what it means. It means the importance of the presentiality. For example, after COVID, it was very remote trend, but for us, even if obviously we can be working time to time in remote, if you are not with a client in his office, it's very difficult to create proximity. And regarding the basic, obviously you need to have a good CRM. You need to send maybe satisfaction survey to use this data to define some key action and define some roadmap to make the satisfaction growing. You also need to define governance because obviously it's really different to have maybe 5 consultants in a client to have 100 consultants in one client. You have to define governance, and each governance, it can be delivery, bid management, finance, recruitment, marketing, account management will be key, but it also means governance with your own clients. Very key to have this operation vision, but it's very important to also have the vision of the CEO, which will be maybe strategic one. So very important to define who will meet who, when, how, and what they will talk about.
Looking ahead, what are the next steps for Amaris in terms of scaling? Are there any new sectors or regions that the company is focusing on for the future expansion?
Amaris Consulting is always opening new countries. But for Chile, at least I can say, we obviously have already diversified some sectors. At the beginning, we were very focused on retail because it was COVID, the boom of digital, e-commerce stuff. So most of the clients was retailers. And then we started to try to diversify, opening clients from financial sector. And the idea is to keep diversified because the more you diversify, the less risk you will have. For example, this year in Chile, retail was very complicated. And thanks God, we diversified on time. So obviously, we made as business with retail, but we grow with finance. We will be able to open a new sector like insurance sector. So the vision is 2 dimensions. The first dimension will be the proximity with the active client to grow with the active client, but also to diversify in terms of sector and maybe in terms of business unit. Today in Chile, we're very focusing on IT and digital. But for example, if we go to Canada or to Brazil, they also have engineering sector. If we go, for example, in UK, we have life science sector. If we go to North Africa, we have telecommunication. So the opportunity, let's see what the future can offer us. And in terms of regional dimension, still want to open new country in South America. And that's why we're always looking for new talent to maybe find good manager who will be able to do what I have done here in Chile, to do it in other countries, such as maybe Peru, Panama in the future. Yes, very challenging. And I have a very optimistic vision for Amaris Consulting for the next years.
Now we would like to focus on the intrapreneurship HR policy that you have. Indeed, Amaris places great importance on intrapreneurship. Could you explain how this entrepreneurial culture is encouraged within your company?
I think the role of manager is related to that because basically the manager is kind of entrepreneur inside the company. What does it mean? Most of the managers here in Amaris, or they will evolve inside Amaris, and the one who will leave, most of them will create their own company. But I don't want to limit the entrepreneurship dimension to only manager. It can be also extended to consultants or other governances. For example, I mentioned the excellence centers. Most of the excellence centers have been created thanks to consultants. Some consultants are very passionate about something and they have the opportunity to develop an offer and then to escalate the offer to excellence center. For example, the agile, and if you can call it that way today, the organizational transformation center in Colombia has been created at the beginning from a consultant. Same in Brazil with data. The idea is to also give the possibility to the consultant to innovate. Maybe for them, it will be very complicated to create their own company of data, for example. So maybe they can create first an offer, then an excellence center, and maybe go from consultant to manager in the future of the excellence center. So the opportunity, if we take maybe other example, not related to business, in Colombia last year, we developed in Kingdom, develop diversity, especially for a woman. In South America, the private, and obviously related to technology, it's very limited to men. But to be a woman, to be able to study technology in South America, it's like very complicated because it's expensive. Last year, we developed in Kingdom, where we look for a young talent, the Intrapreneurship and the shadows of consulting. Clients to learn about an expert in technology, maybe in data, in development. And after 6 months, the idea was to make them a junior consultant in the client. And we are also paying for the studies. It was very successful. And this year we'll do it for Chile. And for example, I really like the idea, but I don't necessarily have the time to do it. So the idea is to see if there is some woman consultants in Chile. We want to do it. And we already have a lot of consultants who are like very enthusiastic about the idea and they want to do it. So this is a kind of entrepreneurship inside the company. And yes, I really like this aspect of Amaris Consulting to do that inside a company.
Could you tell us what kind of support or training is offered to employees that take initiatives like this?
We have the figure of the coach, as I mentioned, but we also have the role of the mentor. So you can maybe have a coach who will help you, obviously, in your day to make you a better manager, a better consultant. And the mentor, for example, you also have an internal platform, which is Academy. We'll have a lot of training. You can do it virtual one, but same stuff. Tomorrow, if there is a consultant who wants to develop a workshop, to do a masterclass. Actually, every month we have 2 masterclass on Friday, and the masterclass are animated by consultants who want to share knowledge. It can be about technology, but it can be about financial, about geopolitical trends, because here in South America, you have the luck, if you can say, to have people, for example, in Chile, we have people from Colombia, from Venezuela, from Cuba, from Peru, from Brazil, from Uruguay, from Argentina. So at the end, multicultural, this is our expertise, but the idea, again, is to support people to take initiatives and not to be afraid. And actually, maybe the more important barrier to take initiative is to be afraid to fail. That's why we really push the test and learn. And actually, it's good to fail quickly because you'll learn quickly and you will be better quickly. And it's not only theoretical. When I arrived, we decided to open an office in the south of Chile because at this time, there are some very good talents in the south of Chile. Everything was centralized to Santiago, but nobody wanted to run in Santiago. So we said, okay, let's open an office in the south. We are very proud of our initiative. It was very quick to do, again, because in Chile, it's very dynamic. But then COVID arrived and all the people from Santiago decided to work from all Chile. And it was not a differentiator because all the companies started to doing it. So we lost our added value. But okay, it didn't work. We closed the office and it's okay. The investment made was not that huge. And for example, in Mexico, we had to open 3 times Mexico to make it successful.
What are some of the challenges the company has faced in implementing and scaling entrepreneurship initiative? And how do you think it really succeeded to overcome these challenges?
First, failing is not a mistake. There is nobody in Amaris Consulting who will say, you are a bad person, you are a bad professional because you fail. It's more how you react to that. If you learn from your mistake and if you take the best of the learning, it's what's important. Obviously, if you do the same mistake 2 times, it's more complicated. For example, here in Chile, obviously, we're going to send proposal to RFP, to client, and sometimes we're going to win, and sometimes we're going to lose. But in each situation, we're going to do brainstorming and to do the best practices and also the worst stuff we did. And we build like a book of best practices and failures. So each time we have a new opportunities, okay, we're going to look at the book and make sure we're going to try to do the best practices and be able to avoid what we have done wrong the last time. And obviously the book is going to be each time more nutritive. So yes, I will say that.
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs or new collaborators who wish to join Amaris Consulting?
So I will say, don't be afraid. So at the end, it's a positive either way. Obviously, is to try to be conscious of the failure or what you can face. And to that, to be very maybe curious, because obviously the idea is to hopefully to, if you're gonna fail, hopefully you can fail in something you like. So maybe be curious, propose stuff, ask questions. There is no silly question. Be resilient. Again, at the end, if you can see something you like, you want to try something, try it. And in the best case, you work. In the worst case, you will learn. So don't be afraid.
What do you think there are the main challenges they should prepare for in a constantly evolving professional environment like yours?
I think IA shows the way. There is a lot of people also afraid of AI. I'm not gonna lie. But for me, I'm more afraid of people who will be, gonna say, educated with AI, because they will be if they will be better than me. So today, my advice is to be very curious about everything, about the technology, about trend on the market, and to learn. Because tomorrow, it's not AI will be your enemy. It will be, if you don't know AI, it will be people who know AI, because they will be faster, more efficient, more creative than you. Because jobs, they won't disappear. We need people, we need humanity, we need the proximity, as I mentioned before. A robot won't have the same proximity you can have with people, with clients. But obviously, if someone can be quicker than you, can be more qualitative, more creative, it will be more complicated for you to shine, right? So that's why you have to be curious and don't be afraid to try new stuff.
Thank you so much, Ophélie, for your time and your valuable insights. It's been really inspiring for us to hear about Amaris Consulting's approach to growth and entrepreneurship. For more conversations like this, stay tuned to podcast entrepreneurial@audencia.com.
Thank you a lot for your time. Bye.